What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here, and we got a chance to celebrate some joy yesterday with the news that Garrett Wilson has signed his extension, and he's getting himself essentially a mega deal here, right? He's getting 4 years for $130 million, but we all know the guarantees are what matters most. $90 million guaranteed, and this puts him contractually, on paper anyways, with the Jets going into the 2030 season, which is awesome on a number of levels, right? Not only are there a ton of firsts with this contract, but also when you think about setting the tone, setting the expectations from the front office perspective, it's rare that you see a new regime get a chance to break news on a contract like this, right? Normally you want to at least get into the season, or especially for a guy that's not undeniably like a top 5-ish player at his position, which is kind of the range that he's going to be in, right? And inflation and all that stuff in terms of year after year increases obviously factor into this whole deal, but I absolutely love this, right? Homegrown talent. This is a guy that maybe hasn't done everything perfect in terms of breaking the diva kind of mentality type stuff that tends to stick with, you know, top weapons around the league. But this is a guy that deeply cares about winning. He has the mentality, I think, to outlast a lot of hopefully what gets left in the past with Aaron Glenn now taking over. And so to not only see that, but to also see the flip from us talking just a couple months ago about him potentially forcing a trade, right? The Aaron Rodgers situation deteriorating so much, the losing, constant losing, adding up so much that we would end up walking out an elite weapon out the door. But we seal him in, and so I want to talk about some of the highlights from his contract, right? Now, he walks away with the 4th most guaranteed money in the NFL at his position. He's also the 5th highest in terms of average annual value, and I think he's sitting at about 31.5, somewhere between that and 32 million per year, which, just to kind of give you guys a rough estimate of the kind of deal we're talking about here, he's essentially making the money that Armand Membu for his entire rookie contract is making on a yearly basis, and is well-deserved. Again, this man might have earned himself the hardest 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. And so when you also look at who's been throwing him the ball, and if I can find it, I'm definitely going to post it here, but 7 different quarterbacks, and I've seen the breakdown. I think Aaron Rodgers had 98 passes to him. Zach Wilson then was at like 95. And then you have Tim Boyle, you have Chris Streveler, you had Trevor Siemian, and there's going to be Justin Fields now, of course, but there's another name or two added into this list as well to just let you know. This is a guy that's been on the cusp of being an elite tier weapon in the NFL with essentially and effectively the worst quarterback play possibly imaginable. Then you add into that the worst possible game planning and preparation and coaching as possible. And I think about the conversations I was just having with Boyd Green, who I linked up with recently, and some of the commentary and stuff that we had back and forth. And you can definitely make a strong argument that Robert Saleh, for effectively all of the offensive players, you haven't seen a single offensive player get developed, right? Guys have just been naturally good, and I think you're kind of seeing that play out in real time, right? But Breece Hall, up and down, right? But obviously he hit it out the gate, came back in year 1 from the ACL, looked really, really good. Garrett Wilson has been established a long time, but you look at plenty of the other players that have been going on. AVT, he may have just always been naturally this good. You take a look at players like Jeremy Ruckert, right? And he might potentially get walked out the door. So this is a guy that's well worth the pennies. The only argument here, not the only, but probably the biggest one that comes to mind is the fact that now he's going to have to make sure that he stays healthy and that he can try to elevate his game, assuming that he does see better quarterback play in coaching than he has at any point during his career. But all the signs are pointing up, not just from what's happening around him, but himself as well, and acquiescing himself to his new coaching staff and what the ask is going to be. Also, he has his boy Sean Jefferson back in the building still as the wide receiver coach, who he seems to have built a pretty strong rapport with. So really, really excited for him. One of the other intriguing pieces out of this, it's the first time from a Jets perspective, right? And you want to talk about possible tendency breakers and stuff like that, but it's the first time in NFL history that a receiver has received an average of over $31 million after playing only the first 3 years of their contract. And this is in the modern, new CBA deal type environment that we're in now. And then it's the first time the Jets have extended a first round pick in their first year of eligibility. And I think the name that I keep seeing called out as the next earliest candidate would have been Quentin Williams. But from Darren Mougey's perspective, he may be tied to these next couple deals he does. And I'm going to drop another video about Sauce Gardner here actually pretty soon. But his tenure may be based on what happens with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, and then seeing if he can find a young quarterback to help fit into this financial picture, as opposed to being based on the merit of getting a quarterback and then building a team around that player, right? And if Justin Fields hits, awesome, but then you were talking about having to unload a couple of huge contracts all around the same time, and you don't necessarily have a ton of draft resources or anything either to really kind of offset how you would need to rebuild the team. So I'm intrigued to see how we essentially manage all this and put the pieces truly together. But man, I can't be more excited for Garrett Wilson. Absolute stud out there, and there's definitely a couple more levels to his game, which is crazy to think about, that he can unlock and hit that he hasn't been able to so far. So let me know what you guys think. But this gets an A+ in my book, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace.